Hello everybody, my name is Troublmaker and welcome to your favorite new game show, Who is Better? And in this game we will have two opponents equally terrible or equally good facing off against each other, and at the end of this video you will guess which of these players is actually rated higher on the ladder, and you will have a secret reward. You'll probably just see a board saying you are in fact right. And we have the blue pack player Delta facing off against the red player AceisAce2. No cheating, no looking up ratings. You just have to guess at the end. There will be two options to select, and win or lose, it's all about the fun. This course coverage is from the Wargame Cup 2012. It's one of the worst matches I have seen, and of course one of the worst strategies. Now, as we try and slow this down a bit, both players are going straight down the middle. We see lots of motor strategies running into T55s, and T55s are actually just going to keep running through the infantry. This is how terrible it is. There's another group of infantry flanking from the side here, but there's tons of motor strategies deployed here for Delta, as K tanks are running in and actually going to try and do the exact same thing, just running through these infantry with the tanks, taking severe grenade area of effect damage as well as the rocket damage, and an anti-aircraft gun comes into support. There are no aircraft, it's just firing for the sake of extra damage. TO-55 is routed. We see lots of anti-tank teams deployed at various corners and sections, all firing into this key cutthroat where it's going to take out the reign of the tanks. AceisAce did have a slight lead, but is all thrown away, largely because he decided to deploy the exact same tactic that his opponent is. He has deployed 4 Spadal Karnowskis, not just 4, and they will help deal with these KPZ TP5s, which are getting stomped in. Motor strategies here will die. The tanks here will definitely die. One instant tackle routed. We see a reposition here of a 60 Pi, which has been kicked out by the Spoo 60 PB, and we have Montschützens moving up to try and deal some damage. They get one anti-tank team here as they continue rushing forward into the bushes. They kill off the Spadal Karnowskis, a battle they should not have won, and the T-80s are now peeling onto the Montschützens trying to do damage. He's pulling back his anti-tank team as these Montschützens try to get into a safe position. We see an OT Scott getting picked off by a 60 BTR Pi here, and we see a group of Motostrelki walking as their vehicle gets shot down by tanks. Are you following me, people? Which of these players do you in fact feel is the better player? Who is the higher rated? That will be the goal of this. Doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who loses. We will have a variety of upsets, and we'll have a variety of clear wins. This one, however, is 2 players were using the same terrible tactic to equal efficiency. The result of this may shock you. It may in fact shock you who is number 1. But for many of you, it may not shock you at all. It may just seem obvious to you. And that's the fun in this. This is the fun of this game. And now that we have a lull in the action, why have I decided to come up with this brand new format? Well, as it turns out, you people love me so much that, in fact, I'm actually hit one of my milestones. And it's a milestone during my first year anniversary of YouTube. I've hit the 300 subscriber mark. And this is a series to thank you, the viewer. You have shown what you want, and I'm willing to provide it to you. And what you want is to see really terrible players and be able to choose which one is the worst. That is what you really want. We have 2 gunship helicopters coming in, peeling off against these anti-tank teams. Looks like it's getting kind of close to this Motostrelki. Wants to deal with any unit it can. And these gunship helicopters are not exactly a unit that Delta can actually prepare for right now, because he doesn't really have a lot of anti-aircraft units. He's been using anti-aircraft units to deal with tanks. That's a weird thing. In this defense position here, we have AceisAce peeling down these tank teams, which of course are out of ammunition and shouldn't really be running forward right now. They're getting shelled from all locations. They got gunships on them, they have tanks on them, they have anti-tank teams, all sorts of reasons why you should probably pull back and refuel and restock these guys. But hey, this is 2 guys doing roughly the same terrible thing, and that involves throwing away a lot of units. Looking at the supply area, in which we have Foxtrot and Golf for Delta, and we have Bravo and Charlie for AceisAce, which means that these are very much weird plays. And this is a really bizarre game because they're both using terrible strategies. Delta lost about 100 points worth of units there, and this unit might just die. It's getting picked off at, and we see a UAZ recon, has no guns, of course, in a forward position. And here we go. We have an anti-aircraft trying to pick off the remainder of these helicopters. Of course, certain anti-aircraft guns have a much better range, and this one has a pretty insanely high range compared to, say, the standard Martyr Roland, which has a very relatively small range. As far as I know, it actually loses to a lot of gunships one-on-one. Here comes a reinforcement block by Delta, and it's actually done at a very neat place. This is a unique map feature. There's a little town here. Actually, it's not really a town. It's actually a barrel shipping place for Swiss and Canadian companies, and they just sell those barrels and they ship them in these trucks here. So it's actually a unique feature on this map because there is no point like it over here at all. There's actually no place you can stick units to do an ambush at all here. At the same time, there's no real place you can defend ambushes here. It's a big, giant, wide open field, and each one has a distinct advantage and weakness. This one is very good for infantry. If you can get 4 infantry in here, it costs a lot for the enemy to really block that. This one, being a big, giant, wide open field, makes it very vulnerable to rockets. And so you can use both these reinforcement points in very different ways, and actually a big engagement happening here. He's got the support of armored supply truck, and he just needs to get these infantry out and into one of these buildings very, very quickly. If he can do that, he can win this battle. But it looks like, oh my god, lots of reinforcing units here from AceisAce. He's rushing forward with his units, and of course, grenade damage is area of effect damage. So by having units grouped up like this, you will in fact incur a lot of losses. But it looks like this plan will largely fail for Delta. He just doesn't have enough units here. The other group of units is very far behind from this, and it looks like this group of Motostroki might just die out in time. But whoa, we have a small little push here of T-55 tanks into Spaddo Konarskis, and without the appropriate support, these T-55s from AceisAce are forfeit. But speaking of which, this block here has actually been completely denied by AceisAce, and it looks like he's actually going to be in the retreat. I'm not sure he's going to do with his force here. Not particularly useful. Over here we see, oh my god, anti-aircraft guns for AceisAce coming to support. Actually useful here because anti-aircraft guns do relatively well against infantry for the most part, except for the more rocket-based ones. He does have 4 Motostrelkis here as well supporting. Into this little picnic here, we can see that he's actually going to deploy Motostrelki into these buildings and protect this reinforcement line, which is very important. Over here we see some Scots. These are empty Scots that are used only for carrying units, are actually going to die, and small point change there, but it also gives an idea of what the units are for AceisAce. So slowly we see a creeping unit here, and we're running into a mid-game, and in the mid-game generally things kind of slow down a bit. People are trying to get reinforcements, but these are 2 relatively bad players, so because of that, there might not be a mid-game, and it might just be dogfights for the entire matchup. And of course, neither player has an FOB, which means they're smart enough to actually delete their FOB, so you just keep that in mind for the rating, of course. There's lots of evidence to suggest what ratings these guys might be, who might be the better player, and both players just making repositions. We see this supply truck's actually running out of fuel, which is a really weird play. And Motostroki versus T-72. I believe the Motostroki has a very good chance of winning this. And fuel leak forced to pull back. Motostroki actually out of RPGs, so maybe not so hot, and it does in fact die. Spaddo Konarskis are still here with the T-72A. And it's one of these weird things where like, hey, I got 4 T-72As, and the guy's like, well, I got a T-72A, and that beats your T-72. And of course, he is going to be pushed back. Looks like there's going to be artillery joining the fray. And actually, this woods has in fact been taken by AceisAce, who's back in this game, by the way, doing very, very well. And this is why he just brought a bunch of units to this position here, and looks like they might get cleaned up, and suddenly Delta might be killed. Nope. These units are getting cleaned up by AceisAce. That cost is questionable. And no, they're in fact killed off. And there is another helicopter here as well, which means that there will be another big lead for AceisAce. Who, by the way, has a big lead. Did I mention that AceisAce has a pretty big lead? I'm not very good at math, but it looks like he has a 75-point lead right now. Does AceisAce. And he's running a lot of these T-55 tanks forward, wanting to deal with the tank destroyer. I hear tanks counter tank destroyers. Is that true or false? I'll have to look at the game guide for that one. And there is a fairly good split of units. Oh, he's actually buying another command, and he's hiding it. He's not going to use it. This is an expensive choice, and it's a risky choice, especially at this point in the game. There's only like 18 minutes left. If he doesn't get that command placed in roughly 4 minutes, he's going to be in trouble. And here's the thing. One guy spent 200 points on command, and one guy spent 200 points on a T55 giant line. T72 actually leading the charge, pushing everything back. Everything back. And AceisAce actually now successful with this little tank push that would have otherwise been retarded, but is far less retarded because of the fact that his opponent decided to buy a command very late in the game. And now this command advantage will vaporize. However, it looks like Delta has in fact defended this, and plus some. And what will we see? What is the appropriate course of action when you defeat a giant push? Well, of course, you counterattack with weakened forces. This is the standard tactic that I hear is very popular. If you can't tell by the sound of my voice, this is mostly sarcasm. I should probably stop doing that. Looks like just a lot of emergency units being pulled out here for AceisAce. And he really needs to restock. His Zalo is actually getting critical on rockets. And his Molka completely drained. Needs supply trucks badly. But he's just rallying out units. So why would you ever try and improve veterancy on your units if they're just going to die? T-55s might pick off some infantry. It appears they will not. No, they will not. So, it's pretty exciting stuff so far. And by exciting, I mean nothing is happening. This is the mid-game, of course. What an odd place for a mid-game. Mid-game happening pretty much at the end of the game. We see artillery fire eroding a few units, pushing them into BTR's all, and now he's just going like, screw it. I'm just going to throw my units forward. Why would I lose one unit when I can just lose all of them? Right into the BTR's all. The Zalas are actually pulling back out of total fear. There is 4 infantry with this, which makes it interesting. If he drops these infantry in the right position, he can actually do a lot of damage with this. He's moving forward. Looks like he might be trying to go for a command slam. Of course, there are 2 commands at this base, which means that there's a lot more to lose here than normal. And it appears that Delta will continue to take a pretty big lead here, as his Zalas are just chewing through this army. Mott shoots and runs straight to the Mott shoots and trying to just walk around and find stuff. Moto Streliki are forced to deploy, might be able to get the Mott shoots in. And we see lots of infantry teams running into the Moto Streliki, anti-aircraft teams as well, getting close range, and the Moto Streliki will in fact get destroyed. Along with the 4 BTR pies. And whoa, we had a pretty crazy flank of infantry show up, and they just all got shut down. Of course, the command armor is right here, the key that they want. And wow. The game's not very close anymore, by the way. 2 players who've been making mistakes all game, and the person who made one bigger mistake has in fact lost this match. If you were asking who deserved this win, sure, double disqualification. And if you're watching this Delta or AceisAce, I'm sorry, I'm not usually this mean, but today I am very, very mean. Just rallying more infantry in. This is what happens at the last minute. People get very desperate and they want to just try and go for these command armor snipes. Of course, there's too many command armors on the map for Delta. Actually, it's going to throw the tanks right to the Machutsans. And the Machutsans are doing insanely high amount of damage, increasing the score even further. And really, the score doesn't matter at this point because, oh my god, he might have to get a command armor, but it doesn't matter. Flamethrower tank just wiping out. Look at all these units just melt. Absolutely melt into the flamethrower damage. That's insane. And as we rounded this match, the important question to ask right now is, so who's better? If your vote was for blue player Delta, click on the dog. If your vote was for red player AceisAce, click on the lion or cheetah. Now!